Hey everybody, and welcome to Manufacturing Matters. We're in Boston today at the Autonomous Mobile Robotics and Logistics Show, which is co-located with the Vision Show. And I'm lucky enough to be here with Brent Barcey with Plus One Robotics, Vice President of Sales and Business Development.
Yep.
So Brent's going to give us a little bit of his time to tell us about Plus One Robotics. So let's start there. You guys have a unique business model, and I can't say how excited I'm about it. So tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so I mean, we're focused on 2 or 3 different really whiz-bang applications right now, but
Yep.
we're an AI vision-based company, right? So people that come to us have problems with grasping a box, moving it from point A to point B. They're trying to simulate all these type of things that happen in a logistics atmosphere, right?
Right.
So we focus really on 3 applications at this point. We're doing random mixed depalletization, so everything that comes into the building comes in on a pallet and it's got to get depalletized and inducted, right?
Right, for sortation and distribution.
Yep. Handling boxes very quickly, packages very quickly. We're very public with FedEx. There's videos everywhere out there, but we do that best in class.
Right.
And then third, which we're showcasing here at the show, is robot to robot interaction. We're loading and unloading AMRs.
Right.
AMRs have a lot of sex appeal right now in this industry, and we're coupling those technologies to be able to give a solution to the marketplace.
So another part of what makes Plus One Robotics unique in my mind is this service component, this remote management monitoring and I don't want to call it troubleshooting, it's more like operational efficiencies. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
I call it PLPD. It's
Okay.
cheap insurance. We've got a human in the loop, right? It's called Yonder. That's our software. And a robot is never going to be 100%. There's going to be times when the packaging set just changes. It's Christmas, it's Hanukkah, it's 4th of July, whatever it is.
Right.
So that gives trouble for the vision system. It gets stuck because it doesn't know what it's looking at.
Right.
We can phone a friend. We have a human in the loop called Yonder. So robot says, oh my gosh, I'm in trouble. It goes up to the cloud, comes back down to a crew chief that's just in San Antonio.
Uh-huh.
They monitor 40 to 50 robots at a time. And crew chief can see what the robot sees. So if everything's okay and for whatever reason the vision system just had a problem, it can click that package and it can go back to work. That usually takes about 4.5 seconds. So if you're walking the floor, you would never know that a human intervened remotely. So it's a really neat technology. And as it does that, the model's getting smarter and better. So after the next couple of times that we make that pick, the model will know that box is good to go and it will pick it automatically. So we don't need to continuously do that. So that's why it's probably less than 0.5% of our picks are human intervened. But when you need it, you need it because you don't want the system going down because you didn't induct this into the, you know what I mean? A lot of times that robot sits idle for 20 minutes and no one knew because they're busy in the facility. So it's pretty awesome technology.
So normally when an AI or deep learning companies talk about human in the loop, it's going to be during the tagging, the training of the initial model. You know, you guys are bringing in the operational mode. But you're also continuing to always optimize and improve your model.
Yeah.
And you're working in the cloud environment. Most people think, you know, I've got to come up with a really solid data set. I'm going to create the best model I can. I'm either going to be able to do anomaly detection from that, or I'm going to be able to do, you know, some very good inspection or some guidance based on this existing model. But what people have a tough time with is to adapt to additional product variations and expanding that model, especially on the fly. So how does Yonder deal with that?
It's the exceptions are the rule, and that's where most, I think, companies they get that model to a point where it's perfect, and then someone changes, and everything just goes to hell. Right?
Right.
Where we kind of pride ourselves in exception handling. That's where this is going to be able to help you get the ball over the goal line. But like you said, in that scenario you just mentioned, you have to train that model for however long in order to be able to update it, and then you can go. With Yonder, the end user does not have to give us the packaging of the SKUs. We continue to run. It doesn't stop. And I think that's where the differentiator is that we pride ourselves in, is that we continue to keep your facility up and running. If we have to use Yonder to do that, that's great. I'd rather do that than have to pull people off and do model updates, and it's going to be clunky. I'd rather be clunky on the fly than clunky and just shut the system down. We don't want to do that. We want to keep your system running.
Does your training procedure that you go through when you're training the initial model, how does that work? So, I mean, one of the difficult time in standard manufacturing courses, how do I get cameras? How do I acquire enough images of defects or common goods or whatever to build a semi-bulletproof model, right?
Yeah, that's a good question. Most people that when they send you the SKUs, they're usually perfect.
Right.
Well, that's not real life.
Not
when
really
those pallets
helpful.
come in, they're banged up and all that kind of stuff. So our process is you're going to send us the SKUs. Yeah. We're going to build that model. We're going to take different images of it. We're going to bang the boxes up. We're going to make sure that the model understands that, if this pallet of vodka that comes in and it's smashing on one side, if you can still pick that safely, and you should be able to do that. So we spend a lot of time up front with that model. It doesn't take very long to get it up and running, but once we do the Yonder and the tagging and all that kind of stuff, auto updates, and it goes fairly seamlessly and quickly.
Out of all the folks that I'm talking to in deep learning and AI, which is a lot of them, you hear simulated defects or simulated conditions. Right? Working with an issue where we find one defect, we move it around the box or something, and that's going to make our models stronger, which it does. But I've never heard one say that they actually physically whack-a-doodle. Just get up there and beat the crap out of the thing. I think that's smart, because we should all be thinking about luggage handlers, right? If we're trying to build a good model of ATR systems in an airport, then we need beat up pieces of luggage.
Correct.
With duct tape on it and pearls wrapped around the thing.
Not everything's going to be a brand new to me. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about this bad to the bone demo we're seeing it on the show floor. You're bringing together a lot of different technologies.
Yeah. So we've got a Yaskawa arm, we've got our vision running it, and then we have a fetch AMR that's running around with a couple totes. There's a donor tote and receiver tote, and it's pretty neat. We're picking out of the one tote, inducting into the next, and it's kind of driving around the gender population that's in here, and it's hooking back up to the conveyance system and bringing it through. It's just to kind of showcase whether it's parcels. I think most of it's all clothing in there at this point, as bag clothing, but just showcasing what this could look like in your environment, right?
So you're not even having to operate just in the demo area either. You're in the aisles and operating in real life.
Yeah, we are. And we to kind of mess with the system a little bit, the engineers will throw some stuff in there to trick it so we can show people it's running so well that it's not going to Yonder, which those are champagne problems, we understand that. But we're throwing different things in there just to kind of trick the system so people can actually, and it's great here too because it goes up to the cloud. We're connected to the cloud, so when somebody runs it remotely, they're running it and they're running the robots. That's pretty neat.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, is we talk a lot about 5G and the impact on our space and industrial automation. And generally speaking, most of the people that I speak to are still like, 5G is a wonderful thing, but it's intermittent, it's not bulletproof. But I'm wondering, in your space, is that something that could actually really be a benefit?
It will, but not yet. I don't think we're there yet, right? We still like the hard wires and like the cloud connection the way we like it, right? I think 5G is going to get to that point. The customers that we deal with aren't really ready to rely on it as a sole source.
I can see that, especially in industrial or large environments, which are probably the type of customer that you're targeting primarily. You mentioned FedEx earlier, obviously one of the largest carriers on the planet Earth. But I wonder if 5G will be when you have smaller facilities, smaller retail, back office, RMAs type systems, or.
I think it will, and I think the bigger facilities and the more populated areas, we're still blazing trail. If you really look at robotics as a whole within the logistics arena, there isn't a whole lot of robots that have been deployed. We're still blazing this trail. So I think it's going to take a couple years for people to get acclimated to the idea of robots handling packages in their facilities.
Right.
And then once you start getting to these remote areas, that's when I think the comfort level will be such that 5G will make sense for a lot of these people.
Are there any discussions about actually marrying some of these robotic arms directly on the AMRs, AGVs? And is there a position for Yonder in that?
I think there's a couple people looking at doing that. A lot of times, you have to remember, just because it's a collaborative robot doesn't make it a collaborative application, right?
Absolutely.
So I think we have still yet to see someone successfully come up with a TAM that makes sense to be able to affix an arm to an AMR that's going out into the facility.
Yeah.
Really, it makes. For a human to have this tranche of space to be able to say, I'm going to pick here, and put it on the locus spot, hit, go home, and it goes to the pack out area, that's still the most efficient way to do it.
Right.
Is with humans. Yeah.
Okay. So, before I asked you about the Boston show, what you've seen, I'm just fascinated with your product and your go-to-market strategy and the value props you guys are bringing. What's the next big thing that we should be looking for from Plus One?
Our roadmap is really strong right now, and we're going to have a product release next year that's going to be a big deal.
Yeah.
I can't really get into it, but it's going to be a big deal, and it's going to be a very public big deal. And
will this be on software side, hardware side?
a marriage of both, right?
Okay.
We're at the end of the day, we're a software company.
Right.
We've been forced to deal in the hardware business, right? So we play with a lot of hardware. The end users want us to do the first article in the pilots.
Right.
We're the riskiest part of the whole sell, right? The vision. So they're like, no, Plus One, you're the ones that are going to integrate this, install, and then the integrators take it over from there. So yeah, we'll be the ones marrying a couple of technologies. It's going to be an awesome product. I'm really looking forward to it. Probably end of Q2 next year.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. How big is your company right now?
We'll click 100 people, I think, in the next 2 weeks. So we'll be at triple digits. Yeah.
All right. So you're obviously having to do a lot of consultative sales, especially at the OEM level.
Yeah.
But are you doing a lot of hand holding through the integration too?
Very much so. Yeah.
Okay.
Again, a lot of these people, this is the first time they're deploying a robot in their facility.
Right.
So we need buy-in from the maintenance team. We need buy-in from people on the ground. And so, yeah, I wouldn't necessarily call it hand-holding. It's just an educational process that they're all going through together at once.
Right.
It's pretty neat.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so last question.
Yeah.
Other than what you got going on at Plus One, what's the coolest thing you've seen on the floor?
You know,
I know you're near auto.
I just the AMR technology to me it's just awesome. I mean, I co-opted at General Motors, and we had all sorts of vehicles running around the building. But what they've been able to do, and this is the 25 years I co-opted at GM, right, is just awesome. The autonomous forklifts, all the things that you're seeing here. I mean, autonomous forklifts, coming from General Motors, like that was never, I mean, you wouldn't even have dreamt that out. Yeah. No, I mean, you're watching forklifts load and unload stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Brent, thank you so much for coming and sharing your time with us today and telling us about Plus One Robotics. I look forward to a lot more conversations as we go forward, because I'm looking for a lot more innovations from you, and I'm going to keep an eye out for next year. You got to give us a little bit of pre-show when you can. So we'll be ready to figure out, at least to understand what you guys are doing.
Of course.
So in the meantime, thanks for joining us on Manufacturing Matters. If you've got any questions for Brent or Plus One Robotics, shoot them over at Tech B2B. Share, like this video if you wouldn't, and we look forward to catching up with you again. Thank you.